We are talking about maybe something that isn't super glamorous, but it is something that we've had to figure out here at 5x5, Janelle, and thanks to your amazing systemized brain, you've done an exceptional job at this. So do you want to give a little intro as to who you are and what you do here at 5x5?
Sure can. So I've been with 5x5 almost a year now. Initially came in to support our wonderful CEO, Carla. I probably organised her life a little too much. And she realised I could probably be better off assisting the wider team as a whole. So at the moment, still supporting Carla, our CEO, also supporting our marketing manager, Gabby, as well. And then overall, just making sure that the team are in tip-top shape to deliver our service.
Cool. We've given you the title of champion of flow and focus. That's what you do. You keep everyone in flow and focus because you are just an amazing problem solver. So this was a bit of a problem in the business, and give you a little bit of context. We have over the last 3 to 4 years experienced rapid growth. We're almost a team of about 50 people. And maybe you can give your experience of coming into the organization, Janelle, and like what were some of the problems that you observed that may have been happening here at 5x5?
Yeah, absolutely. So just with my previous history, I was working in council, so everything's like super regimented, super organized. So when I came in here, it felt a little bit like chaos to me. There was just documentation everywhere and no real set process for our recruitment and onboarding means. So I decided to help out with that.
Okay, so we had hired a bunch of people, and maybe that was a little done in a bit of a haphazard sort of manner. Obviously the right people, but just in terms of potentially how they were recruited, how they were onboarded, where all the documentation lied and resided and all that sort of stuff. Probably wasn't as smooth and well organized as we'd hoped. And then obviously, like, you came on as a new person to the organization, and you probably had observations in terms of how you were onboarded, and there were definitely improvements that we could make there. So that is really like what we're talking about today. And I know this, like, we're a digital marketing agency. What has this got to do with digital marketing? Well, not a heap, but hopefully it gives you insights into our sort of systemized brain, and then how we've gone and really just built a process out of this. So change was needed. Janelle, what did we learn along the way?
Yes. So a couple of things that we learned is preparation and planning is always key. So just ensuring that you do have that entire vision for the role, not just the team needs support, but really just nailing out what that actually looks like. Also just having a central place to secure all of your documentation. A lot of your HR files contain private information, so we want to ensure that those are stored securely. And overall, just ensuring that any new person coming in is having the same feel and process, going through that same process into your business.
The same amazing experience where they're warmly met with open arms, and they get those nice feel-good, a great feel-good experience, that they're wanted, they're valued, all that sort of important stuff, and really try and set the tone for the relationship moving forward. So there's a system for it. What is this tool here? Talk to me about it, Janelle.
So with all of that in mind, we decided that we needed the central place to go. We did a little bit of research. So there's obviously plenty of different options you can go for, but Employment Hero was the one that suited our needs the best. So it's an all-in-one platform that encompasses all of your HR and payroll functionality. No, this is not a paid advertising platform. It just works so good for our team. And it essentially just stores all of your employee details. It's a one-stop shop database for all of that information. It also helps you with your recruitment, onboarding and performance management processes. And you can use their desktop or mobile application. So you always have access to it.
Cool. So this is just like one of many tools that do a very similar thing. One sort of, suited our specific requirements and needs. There's some pretty cool stuff that it does. You just want to talk about, the sort of features that we utilize within the organization here?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the things we use, I personally use on a daily basis, but definitely the team gets in there as well. So it's our employee database, so it's storing all of their personal details as well as any HR documents like your position description or employment contract. It's also got some great step-by-step processes for your recruitment process, your onboarding, and it also integrates with external platforms such as Seek or Indeed, which is super handy. So you've got all those applications filtering into the one spot. It also, we use that for our leave requests and managing leave within the team. We also upload all of our 5x5 policies, which enables the team to view them and acknowledge them as well. It does integrate with our Xero payroll platform, and the team are probably sick of me sending them, but I use it for our surveys as well. So just engaging the team through that sort of platform. And then it also just reduces all of the need for emails. So your inbox clears up a little bit easier as well.
So does a heap of stuff, and a lot of this is in and around how it's communicated with the team, and us communicating the value to the team and all that sort of stuff. But like you mentioned, surveys, like we've got this employment happiness survey that goes out on a monthly basis, and utilizing that, we're able to sort of get a gauge, how you feeling out of 10, if it's like lower than a 5 or something like that. We're able to like actually step into that conversation. We're able to say, well, what's going on? Is it something that we can affect or change or whatever? So it just allows people to sort of have a voice in a structured way, and we're in a rhythm in and around utilizing this tool as well. So hashtag no regrets. So you mentioned in there that it also helps from recruitment, and we're doing a bunch of recruitment at the moment, recruiting for 3 positions. Do you want to just talk us through this 4-stage process?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously we start with the recruitment phase. So this is obviously the most important step. And I would say your 2 key fundamentals to have prior to getting underway is your role or position description, as well as your training plan. So really just making sure you've got that vision for the role before you get stuck into it. Next, we move on to advertising the role. So work out what's best for you and the role that you have at hand. So we like to use external platforms like Seek, Indeed. We also advertise on our own website and then broadcast across our social media as well. You just never know where people are looking for these kind of things. So just making sure you've got your foot in sort of each facet really helps with that kind of advertising. Shortlisting, I would highly recommend getting in there on a daily or every second day basis. There's nothing worse than trying to filter through 50 odd applications in one hit. It's very time consuming and you kind of forget who's who at the end of it. So definitely just sort of keeping your rhythm and checking in with those ones. Same with the interviews, just sort of try and batch your interviews where you can, having them all in one day. So you're sort of not wasting yours or your time's team with that one as well. And we always like to do them through Zoom. You often find people are a bit more comfy and a bit more relaxed when they're in their own place or own state. So that helps as well. And then one of our big ones is doing a trial day. So we like to bring the new person in just to catch their vibe, if you will. We're very big on team culture. So just bringing them in on a day when we've got most of the team in, just to have those conversations and just making sure that they are connecting with the wider team as well.
Yeah, cool. Can I actually tell you a story, Janelle? So I'm not sure whether you're aware of this, how we recruited the amazing Carla Chesser, our CEO. I advertised the position, which she actually started as a project manager, advertised it, didn't get a whole heap of, great responses in terms of candidates coming through. And then I pushed it out through socials and really tried to leverage my network through LinkedIn, just some really well-networked individuals. And Carla was actually connected to another lady, Jenny, up in Brisbane, who's a specialised lawyer. and they were mates. And Jenny's like, "Oh, you should apply for this job. I think you moved to the Gold Coast because she came from Cairns." And then she applied. We did the Zoom call, and that was almost 6 years ago. So you don't always have success through these platforms. You've got to treat each recruitment as a real campaign, right? It's like a marketing campaign. We've got to get the word out there and build the buzz and do all that stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
Onboarding. So the next step. So we find someone amazing. What do we do next?
Next, we make sure we give them the best onboarding experience we can. So we like to start them off on a casual 3-month contract. So the intention for this is really just to not only catch their vibe, but also just making sure that they're connecting with us as well. So just always remembering it's a two-way street. So there's decisions on either end at the end of the day. So just making sure that they really get a good feel of what's to come. And some of these other things might seem super simple and straightforward, but just making sure that they have access to particular accounts that they might need to use, or making sure they got their workstation set up, or even something as simple as like a laptop, they're ready to go, because there's nothing worse than coming in on your first day and not being able to connect. Yeah, all of that stuff. It can be incredibly frustrating. So just thinking about those simple things. And then we also like to really personalize it in terms of getting to know our team. So we've got a little welcome passport, we like to call it, and it's filled with some fun questions about the team. So it's just sort of like a trigger point for the newbie to easily connect and start those conversations, especially when we have some of our team based overseas. You can't just walk up to their front door and poke your head in. So it's just sort of getting those active conversations going. And then on their first day, our team loves food. So we always like to put on a spread for a newbie so they know what's to come. But just sort of like thinking about what's special about your team, or maybe something niche that you could include in your onboarding plan as well. That will just really get them set up and also enjoy the experience, because it can be quite nerve-wracking for some people as well.
Yeah. So step 3, we have this amazing person. We've onboarded them. What next?
Now we want to make sure that they stay. So part of the 3-month period is just doing lots of check-ins. So on the first month, we use our Employment Hero survey feature, and we just ask a couple of questions that they can answer anonymously, so that they can really feel like they can bring anything to the table that might be there already. And then in months 2 and 3, we get the supervisor or your direct relation to that person. Just have, it's just a light conversation just to really see how they're going, if they've got any challenges at the moment, or perhaps there might need to be some tweaks to that training plan from earlier. Maybe it's not working out as you thought it might. So this is a really good and crucial 3-month period to really just be checking in with that person and see how they're traveling, and just making sure that if there are any hurdles, that these are worked out earlier.
And just a subtle point in there, usually we can, if you've, and this was literally one of the first steps that you mentioned in the previous slide, Janelle, which was like, get your position description right. Bring it back to that position description, because everything is dependent on that. And really, like, they're the indicators of success that we want, right? So we bring it back to position description. How are you actually going with this? Are you delivering on this? Maybe there's some improvement that's required in this specific, role or duty in your job. So a good solid position description does all the heavy lifting.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so at the end of that 3 months, that's when we decide if the candidate is for us. It's also a decision for them as well. They might realize that, oh, perhaps this team is not quite what I thought it was going to be. So just really having that two-way conversation in your formal one-on-one check-in. But if things do work out, and hopefully they do, and they're the right fit, we have a team rhythm, which is just checking in every 6 months. So we issue a couple of questions through the review functionality of Employment Hero, and then also every 12 months, just resetting with that person, checking in on their goals, and just making sure that we're able to help them achieve those within our business. And then on a monthly basis, we also issue our employee happiness survey. So this is just to make sure that we're catching any niggles or things that might be going on, because there's always so much improvement happening here. We just want to make sure that the team are also happy with where we're going. So it's just, yeah, really making sure you've got those two-way conversations sort of flowing from start to continuing, really.
Really, like the environment that we've tried to create is if there are niggles, and invariably, like there's always going to be niggles, right? There's always going to be little things that we can improve on. And that's where that monthly happiness survey can come into play. And there's a lot of informal stuff that's happening as well, right? So there's the coffees, the walks around the block, the lunches, all that sort of stuff, which is just, that's the sort of culture that we've tried to build here, so that we can catch problems early, we can address them, so that people show up to work with a big smile on their face, they feel fulfilled, and they feel like they're doing meaningful work.
Yes,
if that's not the case, and maybe there's some challenges along the way, what do we need to do here, Janelle?
Yeah, absolutely. So we really like to build up the leaders within our team. So we try to get them to self-resolve with their said individual. Hopefully that's where it ends, but it doesn't always go that way. So if the poor performance does continue, just getting the HOD or your supervisor to work with someone from your management team. Perhaps it's a two-person situation to resolve that one.
What's a HOD?
A head of department.
Nice.
So there might be different titles within your business, but it's essentially just sort of that supervising position for the team member.
Awesome.
If you have tried to self-resolve and you've tried to get someone else to assist you, performance improvement plan might need to be implemented. So the intention of this is really to try and assist the team member in the role. So we really always want to try and keep the team. It's not always just about getting them out the door if they're not working at that particular time. It's really just trying to make sure that they're fitting in and they're meeting those marks from the position description. So at the end of implementing a PIP, we like to hope it's improving their performance. However, if it doesn't work, we then head down to the warnings. So extending that performance improvement plan out, perhaps they just need a bit more time. They might be a slower learner perhaps, and they just need a little bit more time on that, but also putting that written warning in as well. That might be just a little pep that they need to sort of get back on track. That still doesn't work. There might be a final written warning, and ultimately if none of the above steps work out, that ultimately leads to termination.
Sometimes the challenge with individuals is they actually don't know what success looks like. And maybe they're like super stressed in their role. Maybe there's some external factors that are actually going on, actually external to work. And so what a performance improvement plan does is lays out in black and white very clearly what success looks like, right? And sometimes that's actually really, really helpful for an individual, because in a handful of cases, like we've implemented this and there's been like a complete 180 turnaround to a point where it's like night and day. It's like a different person. So that's where we use it as an opportunity to say, like, we love you, you're a cultural fit, you're an amazing individual, but you're not delivering on what we need you to do, which is your role, right? And here is how we're going to measure the success of that. And so just using that as a point, like if someone is not aligned to that performance improvement plan, typically they'll opt out and they'll go elsewhere anyway, right? So 17 years of doing this, we've actually never had to terminate someone because they've been able, it's been very clear around what success looks like. And then they've either chosen to lean into that discomfort and through our help and support and coaching, or they've opted out, which is cool as well. So we freed them up, they've gone elsewhere. Red flags, like if we're onboarding someone, what would be some red flags out there, Janelle?
So some red flags that we've noticed just from a couple of patterns. These ones might not be so obvious, but just some things to keep in mind. So first of all, we've got if the candidate is deviating from your process. So you obviously have a process in there for a reason because it works. So some of those things for our team would be not willing to complete the trial day. challenges in booking in the interview. So they're constantly not working with you in terms of availability to get that Zoom call scheduled in, or even something as simple as just submitting the task late, or not sort of giving you notice that it's going to be late as well. Following on from that is not willing to complete a task or provide a portfolio of work. So for example, you might be trying to hire a designer and they typically usually have a portfolio of work that they always want to show you. So if they're not willing to sort of pass something over to show their history or skills, that's normally a bit of a amber flag, but definitely leading towards red. And then we've got doesn't actively try and connect with the team. So you'll really notice on things like trial days who's really good at fitting in with your culture. They'll sort of, you know, try and understand a bit more about your business and the people that are working for it. So if they're not sort of proactively asking those questions, that can also be a red flag. And finally, a good test for us is if you can't imagine catching up with them outside of work, then they're probably not a good fit for your team. You do spend a lot of time with the people that you work with, so you really want to make sure.
More time than my wife.
Yeah. So you really want to make sure that you're gelling with those people. So if you'd be happy to go and catch up outside of work, then that is normally a good indicator.
Green flags. What are good signs that we want to look for?
Okay, so these are some of our good signs that we noticed. Again, they're not always the most obvious things, but upon reflection, you realize that they were actually a good little green light. So for us, cultural fit is our #1 priority. So in some cases, that means we might not be picking the most qualified person, but we are picking the person that is going to gel with our team the most. So ultimately, that will mean we will need to do a bit more training with them, but that is a sacrifice we're willing to make in order to have the right people in our team. So just be a little bit more open-minded from that perspective when you're in your reviewing stage on our applications. And the next one is pay close attention during interviews. So think about the responses that they're providing. Are they also asking you questions back, or are they simply just answering your questions? Do they show effort on things like trial days, tasks, and interviews? So are they really sort of trying to go above and beyond to showcase what they can provide to your business? And also just if they provide any follow-up comms, so it could just be something as simple as a text or an email just to say, hey, thanks so much for your time today, like that was really great connecting with you, you know, anything like that is usually a pretty good sign. And then another one of our little testers that we've come to is if it's not a heck yes, it's usually a heck no. So there's obviously some kind of doubt in your mind. And I think it's just important as well to stay out there longer if you're just really not sort of feeling it. Don't feel like you have to fill the role because you need someone there. Because ultimately you'll pay the price. So just sort of, take your time with it to make sure you really get the right fit for your business.
My sort of parting shots on this and in preparing for this catch up, my reflection is systemize. You cannot be too regimented with this sort of stuff. And I very much appreciate you, Janelle, having you in our lives to assist with this. And then extension of that, like building your organization, like you're going to literally have hundreds of team members. Like if you were to literally onboard like 10 people next week, you know, what are the systems, what are the resources, what are the assets you need in place to do that? And then I sort of touched on this with Carla, like thinking laterally around where you can go and recruit, because here's the thing, like the labor market is so tight at the moment that you've really like, you're going to have to go out and headhunt people, or you're going to like have to go and maybe poach some people from retail, or like walk up to people on the street. I have no idea, but like you really need to start thinking laterally in and around, where am I going to find these amazing people to join our organisation and execute the mission. Janelle, what are your key takeaways?
Yeah, so just following on from yours, Jon, first of all, I think it's better to have a vacant seat than a performance managed one. So as I mentioned earlier, staying out there a little bit longer can be better than having to deal with a problem later on when it's too late. You've not only wasted your own time, but also your team in terms of training that person. So just sometimes waiting is a little bit better. The next one is keeping your social media and digital platforms up to date. I know when I always looked for a role, I would head straight to their website or their Instagram page So just making sure you've got all of that up to date and just sort of showing the tone and flair that your team have. I know when I was going to join 5x5, that was like the first place I went, was going to have a look, and just seeing all of their team stuff on their socials was really great. It was a really good way to catch their vibe. So keeping that up to date, and then never give up on the search. So really just, yeah, as Jon was saying before, think outside the box, do different things, make your ads quirky, like just sort of be different from whatever else is going on. And it also doesn't hurt to just do a quick search on Seek for the similar role that you've got, and just sort of do the opposite to it, if you will, because that will make your ad stand out as well.
Janelle, thank you for your amazing help in consolidating all your thoughts. And it's just so cool to see how far we've come in literally like the last 12 months. You've really whipped us into shape. So thank you for all your hard work. Next month, we're talking to this amazing man. His name's Peter Carter. He's one of our digital strategists here at 5x5. And we're talking about what goes into crafting and allowing businesses to share their magic with the world. So we're going to get a little bit into the weeds in and around crafting the perfect sitemap, items like branding, how SEO and traffic needs to play into that. So unpacking that and sort of running in a condensed format, the process that we would run through with a potential client who would be interviewing us to help them with their digital marketing. So that's Thursday the 18th. I want to say a massive thank you. We've come right up on time. Thanks for joining us. Look forward to seeing you on the next one. Keep making some magic there, Janelle.
I will. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, everyone.